Welcome to the Gordox Pub, where we're not late, you're late. There you go. So you want to tell them what you're doing? Rich, you there?
I bumped my mic, I guess.
Oh, I was like, I ain't getting anything, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I was talking and I said the same thing I was doing last time you asked me to tell them, which is doing a scaled down format.
You know I'm not asking for me, right? I'm asking
Yes, I know that's why I was being facetious at the same time, same as last time. Same thing we do every time, Pinky, you know.
Try to take over the world. Anyway. So I got some writing on my novel finally done.
Good.
Like I should have. Well, I have over 10 pages now. So
The novel I'm working on, I just crossed 1700. I think I'm at 17.3, something like that. So I'm almost passed into novella region, length-wise. And I'm just introducing the bad guys. The way the bad guys were originally introduced, it was they were almost cartoony. Like one of the guys is big and brawny but dumb, so like really dumb. And you know, I can't do that, I guess. Like I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell's the matter with me. Like no, I mean I can't write cartoony dumb. So I did mean, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So he's meaner than he is smart, but he's not cartoony dumb, like trying to save a cat as he's attacking something, you know.
Yeah.
But there's 3 of them, and they have different levels of purpose, I guess. Like one of them's really mean, one of them doesn't want anything to stand in his way, and one of them knows why they are doing what they're doing and keeps that in mind.
Okay.
So it's like the leader, the big mean one, and the guy that tries to advise the leader and is a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more of a good guy than a bad guy of the bad guys.
Yeah.
But again, this is not, they're bad guys, but they have a reason to be the way they are. And they shouldn't be, except for the fact that one of them is really mean and one of them is so focused that he don't care about what gets in his way.
Yeah.
they wouldn't be bad guys, they would be heroes from their points of view, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not making them to be just big evil baddies that you'd expect. Well, again, like when I started picking up this project, it was made to be a mid-grade, I think.
Yep.
And I can't rate for mid-grade because I feel like I'm dumbing stuff down. Like, and I don't think kids of that age really need to have stuff dumbed down for them.
See, I never read mid-grade literature. Well, I won't say I never did, but I was never into it. Let's put it that way.
See, I don't know where to draw the line between mid-grade and YA as far as what I've read.
Yeah, that's kind of my problem too.
Some of it, I mean, all of it doesn't feel like they're talking to a kid. You know what I mean? They're still telling a story, but I have a tendency to see manuscripts that are written for mid-grade that they're all of a sudden not really talking baby talk, but you can tell they've avoided using certain words and
see, that's where I tend to think about the Goonies, because the Goonies is really, it's adults can enjoy it, but let's face it, I don't think that if you were going to write that out as a novel, I don't think you're writing to an adult audience.
Well, when they say young adult, that's actually anywhere between 15 and 25.
Yeah,
it's Harry Potter's audience.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so like it's hard to judge because, you know, where on that scale are you hitting? They say generally young adult, they want you to have like a 12 to 18-year-old protagonist.
Right.
And it's like coming of age story, but not really coming of age, right?
Right.
Like, so I know when I was 12, I thought I was grown up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought I was a grown up, so I wouldn't want to talk to a 12-year-old like he was a 12-year-old, you know? Like I wouldn't want to be focusing on like, oh, this is a 12-year-old. I think I'm trying to think of it as I would have when I was 12. Like it's like the 14-year-old, right?
Yeah.
14 and 15-year-old, they are just about old enough to drive, so they almost are interested in all the things that people that are old enough to drive are into, right?
Right.
They just feel like they're shorted. They feel like they've been robbed of an experience because they can't do what the 1 year or 2 year older kids can do.
Yeah.
And you know that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like one of my favorite books is the protagonist is 12. And that's Boy's Life by Robert McCammon, and it's a coming of age story. At the beginning, he witnesses something like a car goes across from a hill into a bottomless lake, and his dad dives in to try to save the guy, and he sees somebody standing on the side of the road. So his whole summer, his whole 12th summer, he's between having a crush on a girl that's just a little bit older than him and searching for this mysterious guy that was on the side of the road, and dealing with the problems his dad had with what he saw, and it's 1950s Alabama, so you've got your I hate to use race, but ethnic divisions, and so it's a white kid that saves a black kid and gets a bike that is questionably whether it's magic or whether it's just him perceiving it that way. But all the things that he goes through that summer just makes him what he is when he grows up.
Yeah.
But when you're reading it from his point of view. I mean, it's like he's older telling the story about what happened to him, so we obviously know he doesn't die, but that's not necessarily the concerns through the story. It's not him dying, it's other people around him and how it's affecting them. But there's not like really a point in time that you're reading it and you're going, nope, that's too young for me. Like he should have seen this coming or whatever. It's stuff that you experience with him no matter how old you are. So it's kind of what I'm trying to do a little bit with this, but I'm dividing the points of view up between a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. But a 9-year-old girl is much more like an 11-year-old, 12-year-old boy, right?
Sure.
Well, they say that they're mature. What's the name of the cat? Well, I call him Dim Sum.
Hey, Frank. Roadkill.
Yeah, I call him Dim Sum. That's not his actual name, but I refuse to speak his actual name. If you've ever seen Leverage, it's Christian Kane's character's name. Or if you've ever seen E.T., it's the boy's name.
One of our cats, she's got a full name, but we just call her Baby Cat. I'm not even sure exactly what her actual name is. It's just Baby Cat. Which is funny because Baby Cat is a mom, whereas Wicket, our older cat, not a mom, and never going to be a mom. So I don't know exactly which one's older, but it's just Baby Cat's Baby Cat because of her size.
So what I'm doing is looking at your script for page 2. 3 panels.
Yeah. Ephraim, I think he's talking about Elliot, not actual E.T.
Yeah. Yeah, the boy's name in the movie E.T. I don't know what E.T.'s actual... Yeah, I don't know actually what E.T.'s name is. E.T. Maybe it's in the Star Wars credits.
Episode 1? Is that where he shows up?
Wherever the Senate is. Maybe episode 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's one of them. I think it's the first one.
I actually think it's 1, 2, and 3 because they have the Senate chamber in all of them, I think. But I don't know because it's like a split second or something like that on film.
Oh yeah, it's tiny. It goes by real fast.
Alright, so now I've got to figure out how to divide this page up into the panels.
I should look at that script so I have a clue what you're talking about. Because I have not looked at the script today because I have been working on my note.
I actually think it might...
Oh, okay, there it is.
All right. So I think I'm going to do the first panel vertically.
Okay.
Like instead of a tier system.
Okay.
And just screw everything up because I'm an asshole.
No, it'd be really hard for you to screw anything up because when I write panel, what I really mean is I think this image needs to be on there. As to how you want to organize it, I'm like, yeah, that's Rich's job.
Well, like I had a vision for it. Like I was thinking about it, but I think maybe I don't know. Maybe I can do it that way too.
Well, again,
I gotta remember it's going to be 11 by 17, and I'm just doing a miniature version of it, and that's kind of messes my head a little bit trying to get that right. So
hey, Alley Cat 7, welcome to the Goradox Pub. Currently, we are making how would you
Trouble.
describe this? Is it? Yeah, we're making trouble. It's the. It's not a storyboard per se, is it? That's not what we're doing.
It's a layouts. Yeah. We're doing layouts for the second page of a comic book.
Yeah, we are in the process of making an entire graphic novel. Eventually on stream, so you've come up.
The idea is to make it on stream, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much. I mean, publishing stuff is not going to happen, but the artwork and the discussing of the story.
I'm creating it.
Right. So last stream we did the which, by the way, all of these streams are found. We do them on Twitch, but we also do them on YouTube. So they're there. You can look up the Goradox Pub on YouTube if you want to check out previous highlights or previous streams, I guess. But yeah, so we're doing.
We've designed a bunch of characters, and we've done one page of layout.
Yeah.
It just took us 3 attempts to do it.
It's the creative process, man. You just gotta keep at it until it works.
That's what we're streaming about, is all the work that goes into it, so that other people that try it won't get disheartened when they realize it's more work than they thought, because they'll witness us bumbling around doing it.
What's extra funny is, while I fully think that writers in particular need to have writing groups, Rich and I are part of the writing group. I've also, yes, it's an original graphic novel, Alley Cat, called, well, I don't know what we're going to call it. Are we going to call it Mastiff, or we're going to call it Shadow Faction?
I think this one we're going to call Mastiff.
Okay.
But it's part of
the Shadow Faction universe?
Yes.
Not that we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Right. We started with a different comic idea, so that's another factor.
Yeah, this one just gelled a lot faster for me.
For us, yeah, it came into being on its own, so we just went with it.
Yeah.
We were having a little bit of a time doing the last one, and I think the characters that we created are still going to be involved.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just a matter of whether they're in this issue, or they're going to be in a future issue, or they're going to be a separate title. Originally, we had planned on a different title, and this character was actually mentioned as a side character, but we both, I guess, kind of fell in love with the name.
Turned into our Fonzie. Is that dating myself too much? I say you turned into our Fonzie. Did you ever watch Happy Days, Rich?
Yes, I did. But I didn't think this was a Fonzie scheme.
Well, I'm just saying, Happy Days was not originally about Fonzie. Fonzie was just like a minor character that just blew up.
I don't know if he was a minor character, but he was definitely not the
He was not
main character. I don't know if he would be called a minor character or a secondary character, because a minor character I would think would be like those one-time appearances like Cherry and...
Right. I'm gonna zoom on your camera so I can look something up without getting dark. Hold on a second. So, well, I guess he was in all of the episodes. He was originally a secondary character, but was soon positioned as a lead character.
Right.
Past all the others.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
To be fair, when the show went off the air, I was 7. So, but
How old are you now?
a lot older. I am.
That's cowardice.
I am 46.
What? You're what?
46.
46.
Yeah, I'll be 47 this year.
So you were born in 77?
Yep.
Alright, I'm 6 years older than you.
See, you probably remember the 70s at least a little bit. I don't.
I do. My first concert was in the 70s.
Not mine. Not mine at all. So, technically, I think my first concert, went with my parents to go see Hugh Lewis and the News at the Fort Wayne Coliseum.
Why can't I get this measurement right?
Which, in the grand scheme of things, for first concerts, I don't think that one was that bad. It's not a boy band per se. So,
Yeah. It's better than my first concert.
oh, what was yours?
My first concert was Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Oh, I don't know. I think that might be kind of dope.
It was a year before you were born.
Wow.
It was the summer of 76.
Summer of 76.
Yes, and they had just introduced glow necklaces.
Children today will just not understand. That's okay.
This is an odd measurement. This paper, like I said, we were talking about it last time. This paper's not even, really. So
I saw a video today, and this time I was smart. The video is Eisenhart Productions. That's the channel, and it's, I guess, the third in his series. I just had to run across it, and it was talking about the Sorcerer's Apprentice from the early 2010s with Nicolas Cage, because that movie flopped. That movie flopped.
this is the same measurement. Does that look straight?
No, that looks straight.
It doesn't even look close.
You get a straight edge.
I have no idea what's going on with this. I'm going to try this again.
See, that's why I would do all those things
One.
digitally and pen print. Even if it's printing on smaller paper like that, you could make the boxes.
2, 3 1/4.
But so they were talking about the Lone Ranger, and the Sorcerer's Apprentice,
3.
and they showed pictures of
Recorder.
your favorite guy that goes to Mars.
Harlan Williams?
The guy that, I mean,
I guess
John
that was
Carter.
lost.
John Carter.
Guess that was lost on you.
No, it's John Carter.
Harlan Williams was in Disney's. Oh, what the hell is it now?
Oh, there, haha.
Oh, it wasn't Mars anyway. So.
Well, this is John Carter.
Wait a minute. Damn it!
What? Well, anyway, as you look up whatever.
Rocket Man.
Oh no.
It was Disney's Rocket Man in '97.
Yeah,
it's a comedy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's kind of my. That's my favorite.
So.
Guy on Mars, anyway.
So they're talking. This video series is talking about these big. They were supposed to be franchise building movies. And
John Carter, yeah.
John Carter, Lone Ranger, Sorcerer's Apprentice. These are big name, or they put a lot of money and effort into these, and then they bomb.
Well, you know what the problem with John Carter was?
No. What's the problem?
Well, they had 3 main problems with John Carter.
Okay.
The first one was that in the middle of filming, well, first of all, they originally they were slated for Robert Rodriguez.
Okay.
And before he had a chance to do them, he did Sin City, and he got kicked out of the Directors Guild because he included Frank Miller as a director.
Oh.
So they yanked it from him, and they gave it to somebody else, and they had a certain budget, and they kept changing the budget, and they kept changing all this stuff, and then in the middle of everything, they switched directors and gave it to Andrew Stanton, because Andrew Stanton really, really wanted it, and he had done Toy Story and Toy Story and Toy Story 3 had won Oscars for him, and they were like really big budgets, and there was something else he did. I can't remember offhand, but it was one of the big ones.
Yep.
And they changed tactics throughout the movie because Andrew Stanton was kind of saying, you know, like I've done. Oh, he did Finding Nemo. He did Toy Story 3, WALL-E. Like he did all these big ones. So he did John Carter, and they made it as difficult as they could for him to get it done. And then when they advertised it, they didn't advertise it as John Carter of Mars, which there was a fan base for.
Right.
Because the same guy who wrote Tarzan, created the Mars Mars Quintology.
Okay.
I think there's 5 books. But because it wasn't John Carter of Mars, they lost half of that audience that wasn't paying attention. So if you just say John Carter and you just show a couple of snippets of him in the Old West and him in the 1800s running around in a town, and then him doing these large leaps from a white ape, you know, people are probably going to read generic King Kong or Mighty Joe Young or something like that into it. So the advertising was not on target to the key audience.
Okay.
So those three really tanked it, and a lot of people believe that they messed with the budget and they messed with the advertising, and the way they did the advertising was a complete fail. But a lot of people believe that they did it on purpose to teach Andrew Stanton a lesson, because they did that earlier with Dustin Hoffman.
Okay.
Yep, he had a movie that he really wanted to do. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I want to say it's like Ishmael, but anyway, the studio tanked it too. It like caused it to fail, to teach him that he couldn't just throw his weight around and, you know, get his own way. But he was really trying to make a movie he believed in, which is unfortunate, right? And he pushed for this movie, and they gave it Ishtar. That's what it is.
Oh.
And it was a flop, but it was a flop because they made it a flop, not because of the stars in it.
Okay. Well. Anyway, so you have these big franchise films, or big franchise starters, I guess, and they bomb. Just fine, whatever.
The Lone Ranger bombed because it wasn't about the Lone Ranger.
Oh, I know.
And then Armie Hammond turns out to be a cannibal, and there's 1,000 cannibal jokes on him because he ate a finger or some shit.
So, what
was Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman were in Ishtar.
What I started thinking about, because I know about those movies, I knew about John Carter not doing as well as they wanted to, and I knew about Lone Ranger, which is really the Tonto movie, and
yeah, that was supposed to be.
And The Sorcerer's Apprentice I never saw, so that's why I was watching the video. Because I actually thought I might want to pick. I think it's on Disney Plus. I might watch it now that I have more time. Although there's a certain
that's
movie
the Nicolas Cage one.
Yeah,
it wasn't all that good.
Okay. Well, anyway, so here's my thing though. If you watch things like Nerdrotic and Friday Night Tights and heel versus babyface and all that kind of stuff,
I don't.
Well, I'm just saying, if you do, you're going to get this distinct impression that the reason why Disney is failing is because they went woke and are going to go broke. Which I'm not saying that doesn't have something to do with it. I mean, when you tell your audience, hey, we don't want you. Because I'm sorry, comic books are dominated, the audience is dominated by people with a Y chromosome. So when you say that these aren't, this is for the MCU and the Force is female and all this other crap, just trying to piss off your core audience, I can see that factoring into why you're not doing so well. Okay?
And what really sucks is that by doing that, they divide the audience.
Yeah.
And not only do they piss off the core numbers of the audience, they make it so divisive that if you comment on MCU,
yeah,
then you're automatically snubbed or looked at down because you're commenting something sexist or whatever. But they're really being sexist and dividing the audience for it.
Right.
So it really sucks that we don't have a choice, the viewers, when I say we, don't have a choice in the matter. We're just either
but here's
follow them or not.
I think movies like The Lone Ranger, and John Carter, and The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which were occurring before accusations of the MCU or the Force is female or any of that stuff, those movies were expensive and they bombed. So it's not just a political thing. It's, you still got to have quality. And if you don't have the quality, and trying to rely on identity politics instead of quality is, I think, what's really going on. But there was a quality issue to the story writing before there was this identity politics thing. But the identity politics, in my opinion, provide cover for bad writing. And they can just, you don't like it, you're effective. Well, no, I don't like it because it's not written well.
Right.
But that's
what I was saying. It's unfortunate because it becomes unfair to us, the viewers, because we're sexist if we don't like it. That's exactly like what I was saying.
Well, I'm just saying it's clear though it's more than identity politics. Like there is no silver bullet on this one. Well, actually, I think there is a silver bullet.
Yeah, it's bad writing.
Yeah, your silver bullet is good writing. I don't care how much you cram identity politics, Marxism, everything into your story. If it's a good story, it will sell. So that's my rant for the night, I guess. But it was something that I thought was kind of interesting, seeing the general discourse where people just act like it's about politics. I'm like, no, it's about writing. The more you focus on politics, the less you're going to focus on the writing, and you need to focus on the writing. And writing does not necessarily need you to have a laundry list of politics to make it good. In fact, that's probably each one of those things you add on to the list is making it more difficult. So, I don't really worry about it. I mean, even with like the stuff that we're doing, I give people ethnicities, like my characters' ethnicities, based kind of on intuition, how I feel about it, whatever. So, I just, I don't know. I'm not, but I don't sit down with a list. Oh, I need to have I don't normally, let's put it that way, sit down with a list of, I need to have this kind of protagonist and this type of, I don't have an agenda I'm trying to push. I have a story that I want to push. But anyway. Also, we're competing tonight with Orson Scott Card, so.
We're not competing with Orson Scott Card.
That's true, we're not.
I mean, really, honestly, and he's talking, but he's talking at Writers of the Future, so he's we're not competing with Writers of the Future. We don't get their audience. There's no crossover.
Probably not.
Which is a good thing. I don't want their audience. They don't want our audience.
Now, hold on. That's not nice.
I'm protective over our audience.
Okay.
They're better than that.
I would say when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. So there was, I forget what edition it is, but there was one story that I was like, this is actually, I really enjoyed it. I was rather pleased. It was, it was about, it kind of had like this, it was a fantasy, and there was this character who's clearly a bard, but these bards were grouped based on birds, and they had different powers, and it's not like they were like dressed up as birds. It's just kind of the theme of it, or the motif, I guess. And it was, I really enjoyed it. This is just a good adventure story. And
so I don't think that there's any reason you can't enjoy a story. And all bullshit aside, like even if you're even if it's got politics I don't like, can still be a good story.
Yep.
It's just whether they cram those politics down my throat or not, you know?
Well, I think if they rely on it, that's probably not good.
Well, like, so it's no secret that David Morrell has been writing recently towards politics. So this is a guy that makes his living off of writing basically spy thrillers or thrillers, and his name was made because he created a character that everyone knows called Rambo, which, you know, what does he use? Violence, guns, you know, all the things that David Morrell is now preaching not to use. But I was reading one of his more recent books, which is historical thriller, and it's set in the time before Jack the Ripper. Like I think it's 20 years before Jack the Ripper, and a kid goes and gets a handgun, which of course it's going to be a handgun because otherwise it's either going to be a musket or probably a musket at that time.
Right.
And he starts the chapter saying there was no age for guns and there's no gun laws. And of course there's no gun laws. There was no need for them. People were raised to know better than that shit.
Yeah.
So,
well, I always think that once,
and it's too bad because I really, until that point, I was really interested in the story, and then he did that, and it's like, you're preaching at me. Like, you just spent the first paragraph of a chapter that you've been building up all this suspense to, preaching at me about your gun views.
Yeah.
After making a living writing characters who use guns.
Yeah. That's, well, I mean, I always think about that as like when my mom once pulled me aside after I had children and said, "Don't you dare spank those children." And it made me laugh because, you know, my mom broke a wooden spoon on my ass. You know, my father took the belt to me, and I'm not, generally speaking, I deserved it. So I'm not all that, you know.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Well, I spanked my children a lot less than my parents spanked me, but there were times when I feel like it was necessary. It's the same type of thing with.
I agree. I say that, but you know, I really didn't whoop my kids, but
it was rare when it was ever needed.
I'll tell you what, my daughter was pretty young. Like, I don't even think she was budding boobs yet. That's how young she was.
Okay.
And I spanked her, and she turned around and looked at me and goes, "More, Daddy." And that was the last time I spanked her. Like, yeah, that's it.
That's enough of that.
Yeah, I've done what I could. I got to find some other way to get through to her, because there's no fucking way I'm gonna continue in that.
Yeah.
Yep, that was it. That was the last time. Like, yep, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, either mom's got a spanker.
Well, generally my boys were pretty darn good, but about the only time they'd ever, you know, if like Quint was getting bigger, I think, and he decided to threaten his mom. He said, "Nope, that's it. We're fixing that now. That hasn't happened ever again." You know, just stuff like that.
Yeah, I think all boys, I guess, have to push it at some point.
Yeah.
Mine did that too. Did some shit with his mom, and he always was different. He behaved completely different for me than he did for her. So when he did that, I looked at him and I'm like, "That's my old lady that you're talking to."
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're gonna talk like that to my old lady, I'm gonna treat you like somebody else that talks like that to my old lady, and we're going in the backyard.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I was
grab some boxing gloves, boy, because I'm gonna teach you a lesson. And yeah, he never did that again either.
Yeah.
Like, I think he didn't really put it together like that until I put it together for him like that.
I've had to do that somewhat with, like, I explained to my older boy once. I was like, look, if you want to sit there and hit your brother, I don't want anyone hitting my boys. So you put me in an awfully weird position because you're hitting my boy. So I'm going to stop it and make sure you don't do it again. I don't like having to physically educate you, but I will, because just as I would protect you from anyone else. But I also told him that while I wanted children, and I love my children, I'm glad with the children I got, I did not choose those children. That was luck of the draw. So I chose my wife. That's why I always tell them, I chose your mom.
Right.
I did not choose you.
Yeah, I don't think they think of it that way because, they children naturally try to test their boundaries and try to play one parent against the other,
Yeah.
And it's not until they realize that parents form a union of their own that they realize that eventually is going to be futile or backfire.
Well, that's why when the boys are fighting, I always try to remind them that they are going to be a hell of a lot stronger together than they will be if they're at each other's throats. So, knock it the hell off and figure out how to make this work. Which is probably why the boys they're brothers. They fight, they argue, they get tired of each other, but they are fiercely loyal too. So I can't say that same thing about my own brother. I mean, I love him, but he and I are not very close, and I don't see that ever changing. But Whit and Thaddeus are very close, and it's one of the happiest things. It's one of the best accomplishments I've ever done. I mean, honestly, I can die knowing that, hey, my boys they have each other's backs, and that makes me happy.
Well, so you say that, but if your brother was in dire need, you'd probably be there.
Oh, I would.
And that's the thing about siblings is you can't hurt him, but I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Siblings have that territorial torture.
See, I don't think my brother ever had that. Like, my brother didn't care if other people were pissing with me. He's like, yeah, whatever, you probably deserve it. And just, that's it. So, my brother's been there to help me out in times, but he's never been overly protective. He has helped me out, though. So I'm not going to act like he never has. Because that would be a lie. And I'm sure right now, if I was like, Thaddeus needs a kidney, I need you to get tested, he would go get tested. So that's not it. But I'm telling you, the closeness between my boys is just dramatically different than what it is between my brother and me. I've seen there was one altercation that happened on a bus. Kid was messing with Whit, my older boy, and he told him to knock it off. He's like, if you don't knock it off, I'm going to knock your block off. And so the kid decided to mess with Thaddeus, and that was it. That guy was on the floor of the bus quickly, and we never got in trouble for that. I was kind of surprised. I expected him to be hauled in, but bus driver was like, "Yeah, that kid had it coming." Okay.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
If the bus driver lets you know.
The boys had some pretty good bus drivers. They didn't ride the bus much. When they started going to public school, they'd have to ride the bus from the middle school over to the high school, and then I would take them home. So it was a very short trip. It wasn't like when I was I lived on the opposite side of the lake from the school that I went to, so it was normally 45 minutes to an hour one way every day. Just, all the different ways the buses have to meander and circle, and they stopped in front of everyone's house. It wasn't like they had just one giant drop off. It was, two houses right next to it or to each other. You'd stop at one, stop at the next one, stop at the next one. It was terrible. But, whatever. That, too, was its own education. I'm going to hide for a second. I'm still here, though. Still talking.
Well, I thought you were going to carry this conversation.
I think that conversation was over. I'm not leaving. There's no reason for me to necessarily be on stream. I actually wanted to look up something. Because I started seeing some stuff, and some of the stuff that you had talked about. Yeah. So, and I'm going to look up some of this a little bit more. I've keyed my interest, I guess. I want to know how well these work. Have you ever heard of a mini PC?
A mini PC?
Yeah, like they're tiny. Like they.
No, I haven't. That doesn't mean anything though, because it just means I haven't heard of it.
They can get pretty darn small. Or a micro PC. That's another one they call it, mini or micro. You can get some that are about the size of a brick. You can get some that are, there's a picture of what I'm looking at right now. That is, it looks to be about, I don't know, maybe 3x3 by 2. So, pretty, like 3 inches by 3 inches by 2 inches. Like, it is tiny. The reason why I'm mentioning that is because A, they're cheap. I mean, they don't have any peripherals. It's just a box with ports. But you were worried about like having a dedicated desktop. I was like, what you want, that might be all you need.
Well, I still need money.
I get that.
I can't afford like a $15 reference book at the moment, so unless somebody starts buying some art pretty quick, hint, hint. Then I'm making do like the po' boys do.
Yeah, I understand that.
So I've got a vanishing point right here. I don't know if it's seen on the screen, so I'm telling people what I'm doing. I'm laying my ruler down because what I've got going on here is because it's an alleyway, and my reference stuff that I'm using. I've got what's called a Dutch Dutch angle, so we're going at an angle.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit twisted at an angle. I I'm probably complicating this a lot more because the layout doesn't really have to have exact stuff.
Right.
But I want to kind of get an idea for my perspective anyway.
Okay.
One of the things that you don't say in your script is what the camera angle is, how close up to the people we are. But I have some ideas from reading through it what that could be. Like I was actually thinking when we got done here with last time,
Yeah.
that this could actually be shrunk down just a little bit and be one panel where they're like crossing and this is where they're passed. So I might do that in the final if I take this line out and, you know, put them closer to the same size so she's actually blowing the dust into his face. It would have to be, you know, bigger than these, but I think probably a little bit smaller here than here.
Okay.
But yeah, like I was starting to think about it. This shows good motion. We've got it's the same cut, which is my problem. Is like I was saying, we're trying to find some contrast, but we also want some variation in size. So I might change the layout of the panels to give a little bit more of that look. It's just all dependent on how much of a crowd and how, like, the angle, like, should we introduce from her point of view or from his point of view? Because, like, I know what's going on, and in the end, it's not really him that's the star of this panel, right? He's the subject, but he's not the
Okay.
well, or he's the object, not the subject, something like that.
Okay. I guess.
Well,
Yeah, I thought
it's
more his point of view than anything else because she goes away eventually.
she does, but as far as I know, we don't have any more panels with him in it before we begin, right?
Oh no.
So, like, it's her action. She's the one doing something,
Okay.
right? She may not even be an important character, but she leads us into the story because even though he's more important to the story, this scene's about what she does.
Yeah.
Correct?
Okay.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page and in agreement. So
It's work. I can see that working fine.
yeah, so I'm just like if I'm filming it, right?
Yeah.
He's nothing until she makes him something as far as the viewers go. Right? Because she approaches him, he doesn't approach her.
Right.
So we follow her to him as she baits him. And then we follow them until whatever's done is done. Correct?
Okay.
Like that's one thing that it's a little bit different for comics than it is for maybe writing a short story or any of that because we don't have to have a point of view. We can have an omniscient point of view because we are actually doing visuals. I mean, I like the idea of telling a story from a point of view, but because we're doing visuals, it doesn't necessarily have to be.
When I was showing the the Crucible to my students, there are several scenes with Dutch angles in that too. And they had no idea what they were, and which is kind of funny because, I mean, you see Dutch angles all the time in all kinds of different media, but they just didn't know what it was. So it's kind of fun. I could actually, and I'm showing the movie to help out with reading the play, but it's like, here's your extra bit of information for today, I guess.
Did you learn it from comics and now you're employing it?
No, I learned it from script writing and stuff. I mean,
so you did learn Dutch angle from script writing, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I learned it from trying to write. I mean, not that I hadn't done that since college, but knew about it from my film courses. I studied. That's one of the courses I took. At least one of them was film. Might have been two. I don't remember. It's been a few years.
Well, I mean, because when we were talking about angles and camera angles, I didn't get the idea that you had them down because
I know some of them, and there are some that I don't. Like when you're telling me, like, it's a mid shot, like I don't know that stuff well enough. Because I don't think you generally don't have to put that into a script. You can if you want. It's not your job.
Yeah, I mean, if you're writing a movie script, it's not really your job to tell what angle it is anyway, because the director will decide what angle he feels is best to tell that story from.
That's kind of how I feel about it with you, which is why I don't put it in.
Well, and that's the thing with comics that's different, is that you and I both are both the director. Like you're directing some of it like loosely, and I'm directing it a little bit more tightly, but still it's the same, pretty much the same thing.
So that's fine. I mean, oh, hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. I have to mute myself before I yell. You might have still heard that. That was loud. Anyway. My boy mowed the yard this morning, or this afternoon. And ever since...
Are you a victim of hay fever?
Oh, yes. I have been blessed with outdoor allergies all my life. So, anyway.
I've never had that issue.
You are lucky.
Yeah, I'm lucky, but I've had other issues. I mean, there's compensation there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could say it was just nothing at all, ever.
There was one year in high school, I remember the entire month of December, I had a headache. It was just a sinus headache. And eventually my father finally said something to me about it. I mean, it was every day. I was miserable. And he goes, well, your grandmother used to get sinus headaches. Maybe you should try putting a hot compress over your eyes. And I was like, okay, whatever. Whatever, old man, with your crazy compresses. But I did it, and it helped out. And I was like, oh. It's one of those things where I was old enough not to believe anything my parents said, but I was in enough pain, I was willing to. And, yeah. I was like, wow. I hate sinus pressure. I get sinus infections way too often. start getting sinus headaches and then your teeth start hurting because it's pressing down, that's a special kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't rank any of that stuff fun. Like, I don't have hay fever. I've never had hay fever, but I've had enough other shit happen to me in my life where I can sympathize with anybody. You know,
Yeah.
pain sucks. It shouldn't be, shouldn't be something that we have to deal with, especially if it's, something like that where you're just born with it, just born unlucky. It's not cool.
I was thinking about the pain response today, actually, because somehow I managed to assault myself with a bedroom door. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I was opening up a door and I hit my toe, so it was like stubbing my toe, and then that threw me off balance, and I basically ran into the door. I mean, it was just.
Yeah, it's like
stuff.
a Groucho Marx movie or some shit.
Yeah.
Buster Keaton.
And, I mean, and it's hurting for quite some time, and I'm like, okay, there is nothing broken. Like, I know there's nothing broken. It doesn't hurt that much. And I got the message, hey, don't do this. Something's wrong.
No.
Like pain is supposed to.
Naughty.
But then I was like, why do you have to linger? Like, once I recognized, okay, that was bad. And once I've ascertained, okay, nothing's broken. My skin's not broken. My bones aren't broken. Nothing's broken. Like, that should be the end of it. It should be like, all right, done. But no.
Learn my lesson. Now get away from me.
Yeah, I learned it. Stop. I don't need a review.
Stop teaching me. I know it already.
Yeah. But, oh well. Okay, I'm going to do a quick bathroom break. I will be back in just a moment.
Oh, that was a waste. What?
I have returned. Had to get a beverage. I think we scared Alley Cat away.
Some people scare too easily.
Or were they poor? Who knows? I'm a little. I feel like I've wasted. I haven't wasted because I've written stuff. Felt like I had kind of wasted my week because on Monday I had, I think, 5 pages of my novel written, and I was like, all right, shoot for a page a day. But if but we're home alone, I should be trying to get more. But then I was working on learning OBS. Doing the script for the graphic novel.
Yes.
It wasn't like I was goofing off, but I feel like I didn't work as much as I should have. That nice, waspy guilt that I have. So today, when I sat down and I cranked out, I'm over 11 pages now. I was like, yeah, I should have been doing this every day, and then I would have had twice as much done, probably. Like a little over twice as much. Which is stupid because there's only so much in the tank before you have to kind of be like, all right, gotta take a break. So, whatever, but I don't know. I felt like I could have written more. But then I also know that, you guys tend to like to don't want to do too much for the writing group per week, so I have enough now. We generally in our writing group don't like to have super huge chunks to read, and mine's already about 3,000 words, so it'll probably be what we get for tomorrow. There's a little bit tacked onto that I'm saving. Like I wrote it, and then I thought, nah, this isn't quite right. And so I've gone back, and I'm only saving it because I kind of want it for... There's some descriptions in it that I liked that I thought, all right, I'll just kind of keep this at the bottom. So it's not quite 3,000 words. But I think I'm going to shoot for 3,000 for tomorrow. And then I'll post it. But
wait a minute, you're shooting to get 3,000 for the week?
Yeah.
Or for just tomorrow?
For the week. for tomorrow's meeting. If that makes sense. So I have almost 3,000 now, so I just need to have just a little bit more, and I'll be there.
Yeah, I want to get to 18,000. That's my goal, so that I can break that 17.5 barrier. And I talked to him about once I break the 17.5 barrier, then we'll do a contract because I know I'm involved enough.
Yeah.
Because really, like, I've been on hold because I want to do that kind of Western thriller type of thing, but I didn't get positive reactions from it, so maybe it's not the right thing. So I kind of held off, and I know if I'm the right audience for it, somebody else will be, but right now I want to make sure that I'm using my time wisely. I should be editing the 13th name, but it's just so hard for me to do it. It's ridiculous, right? But
I don't know about that.
It's just so hard for me to pick up the 13th name and go and just feel like I can.
That's also a lot more work versus play.
Well, like one thing is I changed the character's name.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, like, when I first wrote it, I had. So, the main character's name is comprised of 13 different names, right?
Right.
Well, one of them, I actually had a male and a female name for that letter.
Okay.
And I didn't realize there was only one of that letter when I was thinking of it. And going back through, like, it was more important to do the female. The male I didn't really develop, but I had a few. I had a voice for her already, a little bit. And she's definitely a black woman of her time, right? And because I had a voice for her, I just kind of developed her a little bit more as I went because she already had a voice.
Yeah.
So now I have to go back through the whole thing and look for where I switched names so that I can either attribute the guy version to one of the guy initials or change it over to her voice and her name. It's funky.
Okay.
To say the least, right? It's funky.
Yeah, I always feel like the editing process is a heck of a lot more work because I'm not generally going to find anything new in the story. So it's a slog to go through because I already know everything that's there. And it's hard to see it. I mean, the best way to do it, I suppose, and I don't think Orson Scott Card, well, I don't know. I don't want to, but you know how his thing is, just start with a blank piece of paper or blank screen, and if you're going to do another draft, you have to start from nothing. And
well, that's because it's another draft, and what he's talking about is drafting is starting from nothing. Okay. What we're doing is editing a current draft, right? So we're just changing an already existing document. We're not redrafting it.
Well, a lot of what I'm not a lot, but it's going to be a lot. It just hasn't been a lot yet. What I'm going to share with you guys tomorrow is definitely redrafting. It is not just editing. It is. Right. Well, it's just you kept asking about things about like why did Roran take this job if he doesn't know exactly what he's stealing and all this stuff, and so I just backed it up a little bit, and you're gonna know. But even the way he steals it, I'm changing. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. I gotta mute. No, my son came up, and I was trying to figure out what he wanted. So,
And he wanted to make you guess?
well, no, but I wasn't going to necessarily. I don't think it's fair to have them on microphone, and I know the microphone will pick them up. So, I didn't know what he was going to ask, so I muted it.
All right.
But basically, when I ran downstairs and got a pop, I came back upstairs, and I never saw my older son. I'm like, where's Whit? Apparently, he was outside digging up tree roots. So I was like, oh, okay. So he came up. He thought I was looking for him, like I needed him or something. So he brought me a pop, which is awesome. And then, but I was like, no, I don't. I just was curious as to where you were. That's all. So now I have 2 beverages. And that is okay with me, because I tend to drink.
Drink like you're thirsty.
Yeah, the other night when you were talking about movies based on Alan Moore's works, I was thinking that would make that would be a good playlist. Like if you wanted to have a movie marathon, you got all kinds of different movies.
Well, and that's an opinion. Do you like all of those movies? I mean, I like some of those movies, but I don't know if I like all of those movies.
I liked Front Hill. I liked The Watchmen. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I realize is very different from the book, but I enjoyed it immensely.
Books. There was 2 stories, and
right.
They didn't do either one of them really.
Right. It's the concept that was neat.
What, but, using common, what the hell is it called?
Public domain?
Yeah, public domain.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that when he used the public domain, he also used public domain bad guys. And they didn't use all the public domain bad guys. He did. What?
Okay. It was still a fun movie. Like, out of those 3 films, I would probably... From Hell, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and The Watchmen, I would probably rank... League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I could probably watch more than the other 2, so that'd probably be my number 1.
I think I watched From Hell more than the other 2, but V for Vendetta is my number 1.
Oh yeah, I forgot about V from Vendetta. That's another good one, which I enjoy. Yeah, that would probably be my number one. That's probably my number one. Then it would be League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and I would have to watch From Hell again because I haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters. But I enjoyed it, and
I've watched that a few times. I've got it. I didn't see it in theaters, so.
I think it would be. I don't know if I would like that better than the Watchmen. I mean, Watchmen is just some of it's just really. I mean,
yeah, the Watchmen's quite a bit different from the graphic novel too.
Well, yeah, there's also stuff in the graphic novel where it's just like the whole what is the pirate thing? I was just like, okay, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Huh?
There's a pirate store. There's the kid at the newsstand is reading a comic book, and they get into it, and they don't in the movie, and I think that's okay. There are some changes I was like, all right, that works for me. So ultimately, I mean, I think The Watchmen was a little slow, but it was still entertaining. And, you know, I still thought Alan Moore definitely, I think, deconstructed the superhero genre pretty well.
Well, so he asked the question that the boys do now, and there was none. There was no answer to that question in his time.
Right.
That's kind of what he was trying to do with the Watchmen, is answer that question: who watches the Watchmen? But I don't know, they really don't do that with the boys.
Not too much. I think The Boys is more about, well, excess and fame.
I think it still is who watches the Watchmen, but I think it's the other end of that question is who's able to watch the Watchmen.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, we can do what we want, and who can stop us?
Right.
The other one, Dr. Manhattan, could stop him, you know? Because pretty much Dr. Manhattan could stop anybody.
Yeah, but I would still say that would be a fun movie night or series. Just I can't think of a. I like them all. Yeah. And I know, like, Sean Connery hated the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen when he filmed it. You know, it got him to retire and all that stuff. But I'm like, okay, but it's still a fun story. I don't care. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things I can watch and just enjoy. But I mean,
Did it get him to retire?
yeah, that was his. I think that was his last movie, and he said that was it.
Huh.
He did not like the process, and let's face it, he was old already, and he was just kind of over it, you know. Yeah. As opposed to like Sir Anthony Hopkins, who says he's going to retire all the time and never does. And not that I want him to retire. So,
Well, if Anthony Hopkins retired, he would become obscure, you know? Like,
I think so.
I don't think anybody would pay much attention to him. And I think if you're used to being in it, like all of them, I think every single person, actor who got famous for playing a role, hated that role. It's like, because it made them famous, they hate it.
Which is stupid because that's what they were trying to do.
And yeah, right. And that's what I was just about to say. Like, Brad Pitt claimed that after Troy, they had put the camera in his face so much that he didn't want the camera in his face anymore.
Okay.
Hey, I'm just telling you what he said.
Sure.
I'm not making any claims on whether it's right or whatever.
He's hit or miss for me. I don't think he's a particularly good actor. I've enjoyed him in films, don't get me wrong, and I've enjoyed films that have him in it.
I think he's a good actor. I just think he doesn't know what he wants to do. It's kind of like Angelina Jolie.
Who knows?
No, go ahead and say what you're saying. I was just, I do think he's a good actor. I just think he hasn't had more than one role that's like he owned or something, you know?
Yeah.
I think he did a good job in Benjamin Button.
That's an F. Scott Fitzgerald story, by the way.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know.
I didn't know.
Oh, well, there you go. I don't know, because even like, I would say my favorite film with Brad Pitt in it would be Seven. Like, I think Seven is a fantastic film. No, I lied. Take that back. My favorite one would be Fight Club. And he's great in Fight Club. But in Seven, he just, when you put him next to Morgan Freeman or what's the guy? What's the killer's name? The guy
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, when you put Brad Pitt next to those kind of actors, he, to me, is like he's acting, and those two are the characters. I don't know how else to put it, and so I'm enjoying the movie, and I enjoy what he does, but it's still kind of like, yeah, he's not as good as those two. But like in Bullet Train, I thought he was delightful.
I liked him in Bullet Train. I liked him in was it Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels? What was that one? I thought it was like Guy Ritchie or something. Yeah, Snatch. And he
was actually really good at Snatch.
He was a character in Snatch.
Yes, he was.
I didn't think he was the right actor for Achilles until I saw him do Achilles.
Oh, I did not like that.
I would not have picked him for Achilles, but I think overall he was pretty good.
Yeah. You know what he was the best in, though? The one role he crushed and owns more than anyone, Joe Black.
You mean the role that crushed him?
Oh, God. When he speaks in that Jamaican patois, that was, oh, God, it is cringy. Ah. Like, the concept of that movie is actually not bad. And I've never seen the whole thing. Like, I've never bothered to sit through the whole thing. But, man, some of it's just, like, ugh. Some of it is fine. Like, again, I don't think it's as bad as what some people make it out to be, but it's not The Room. Oh, hi, Mom. You know, just I don't know. Brad Pitt is one of those actors. I think, oh, he's pretty. That's about as far as it goes for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he gets shortchanged because of that.
Could be.
And I think that's what he's actually talking about when he says he doesn't want to have the camera in his face anymore. I liked him in Bullet Train. I that's one of the few movies I found really funny. Like it's a situational funny for sure, but
it was surprisingly entertaining. Like the concept, I did not think was going to be that good. But I started watching at home,
and it's the same thing. I'm of the same opinion that you are. That what you're saying right now. I didn't think it was going to be that good either. Then I watched it and I was like, that's great. It's almost Jackie Chan comedy. You know what
almost.
I mean?
Yeah. Oh God, I saw a clip of him, just like a YouTube reel or something. And I think it was from, remember those movies he did with Chris Tucker?
Rush Hour.
Yeah, those ones. I think it was a scene from that. Because he comes around the corner and he has a gun and he yells cheese. And then everyone just kind of stops and starts giggling and he's like, what? He's like, it's freeze. Oh. You know, it's not his first language. He speaks English better than I speak.
He speaks English better than everybody. Then he lets on there too.
Well, it's gotten better over the years, but yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. I don't know. I saw that and I was thinking about how hard it is.
They're doing a Karate Kid with him and Ralph Macchio.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, at least that's what I've seen, and they've got a poster out for it. I don't know if it's a mock poster, but I heard them talking about it before I saw that. I cannot. He's not a kid. He's not even close to a kid. How can he be Karate Kid? That's like the next Back to the Future, right? Oh. It's got Tom Holland in it and Michael J. Fox.
Huh? Here's my problem with that. Like, it could work, and I really do think it could work. But it runs the risk of being Godfather Part 3.
What does?
And any continuation of the Back to the Future franchise.
I'm guessing that he's supposed to be Michael J. Fox and whoever's kid.
I would hope.
Because Michael J. Fox is in it, so he's definitely not going to be a younger.
Oh yeah,
Marty.
And I even said a long time ago that if they were going to do it, Tom Holland, I think, is the perfect casting for it.
And yeah, I think that's something we agree on too, because there's not really another actor that has that kind of innocent, younger, bumbling kind of kid look, which is why I was all right with him playing Spider-Man. Like, I don't think he really looks like Peter Parker, but his chops are there.
So the real question is, do they replace Doc Brown?
They would have to. Christopher Lloyd.
He's still acting.
He's still alive. I don't know if he's still acting. Last I saw,
The Mandalorian.
What's that?
He was in The Mandalorian. So I'm just saying he could do it, but if he can't, I think Oh, what's his name? Oh gosh darn it, I can't remember his name. Hold on. Oh yeah, Jeff Goldblum. Didn't have to look it up. I got it. Jeff Goldblum would make an interesting replacement Doc Brown.
No, not a fan.
Oh, one of my former colleagues cannot stand that man.
You know, it's not that I can't stand him. It's just that a lot of this is going to sound racist as fuck, right? But a lot of Jewish actors have like a deadpan sound to them. There's no versatility in their performance. What's the difference between him being in Jurassic Park or The Fly or fucking
Buckaroo Banzai?
Your mom married an alien or whatever?
Buckaroo Banzai.
Huh?
Buckaroo Banzai.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah, that's another one, yeah.
That's the one that I was thinking of. So what's the difference between him in any of those movies? There's no fucking difference. So
I would agree with you on that point.
It's really, and I guess for me, here's the thing about Doc Brown, is that Christopher Lloyd he owns that role to me.
Well,
Christopher Lloyd owned 3 roles in his life that I can't imagine anybody doing like him ever. One is Jim on Taxi.
Yeah.
One is the bad guy in Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
And the other is Doc Brown. I think it was he in, he was, I'm pretty sure it was Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead that he was in too. And he was pretty good in that too. He was like, his fingers were falling off and shit. But he's got that stammer that, that, I don't know. He's just got a presence that makes me laugh. So, and not very many people do. So Jeff Goldblum can't replace that presence. It's just, it's not possible for him to do that for me. Like, I'm saying, I don't have a problem with him. He's not the guy to do that role for me. That's all.
I don't think I would want it to be. I would not want him replacing Doc Brown. I would want another character that kind of fits the role. Like,
I think that's what Marty evolves to, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Who else could do that?
As for the villain in Roger Rabbit, I think John Lithgow could do that one.
No, I don't think
also
so.
think John Lithgow would make an interesting Doc Brown.
I don't think he could pull it off the same. Now, I gotta have a caveat here, because what he did in Planet of the Apes really changed my view on his versatility.
Okay.
But he's still like, it's Third Rock from the Sun. It's Harry and the Hendersons. It's the same. It's pretty much the same character. He doesn't have a whole lot of versatility, but he does have the ability to play.
Did you see him in Dexter?
I didn't.
He plays a serial killer.
Yeah, but one role is not going to change my opinion. I doubt highly. Like, I mean, it did a little bit in the Planet of the Apes one. Was it the original one of this latest incarnation where he had the Alzheimer's?
Right.
I mean, it made me respect his ability a lot more there, but I don't see him pulling off Doc Brown. I mean, he has a different kind of bumbling character, and if he was a different character, maybe if he was Doc Brown's kid, or something like that.
I think he's a little old to be Doc Brown's kid. Be his brother.
Not in a time traveling movie. He's not.
Okay, that's true.
He
Oh,
could
that's
come.
true.
He could come from the future, or
Doc
whatever.
Brown, yeah, it could be one of his two boys, Jules or Vern. Jules or Vern could be either one of those. They could come back. Yeah, either one of those. In fact, you could have John Lithgow and Jeff Goldblum as Jules and Vern.
I guess you can, yeah.
That's actually not a bad idea. See, it could work.
But nobody important in the movie industry is listening to us.
Oh, I know. But it's one of those things like you could make it work, but you could also make it. It's like
really. I know this. I know the secret to success. This is how it will work out.
I can tell you right now why they wouldn't do that. And that's because you're ballooning your budget before you've ever even, you haven't gotten any of the special effects yet. So you're going to pay Jeff Goldblum and John Lithgow and whoever you have for Marty or whatever.
Yeah, that's Michael J. Fox, and I don't know. Michael J. Fox isn't exactly looking at a lot of roles.
That's true, but
unless it's in a diner,
you're still. All those people got to get paid,
Oh yeah.
So the more names you add, I get it. It can become more,
And an all-star cast or an ensemble cast doesn't guarantee a good movie.
Oh, I completely agree. In fact, I generally think it's a
in the name of the king. And the name of the king proves that.
Thin Red Line. I hate that movie. Thin Red Line is one of my least favorite films.
It's a meh movie for me. It's not a love or hate movie for me at all. It's absolutely meh.
I think why I dislike it so much is because it's meh and it's got all those. They sold you on the names. All the people that are going to be in this. It has to be good because all these people. That's
what I was saying about In the Name of the King. It stars Jason Statham. It has Ron Perlman. It has not Robert. It's Burt Reynolds, Ray Liotta. Matthew Lillard was like the best character actor in the whole movie.
Well,
no, really, in that movie, that he was the best. And that's sad to say because it had a whole string of really well-known, pretty good actors, and it should have been something. But Jason Statham is not going to play a fantasy sword wielder as well as he's going to play the transporter. Or in right now he's playing Lee Von Cade, and it's being produced by Sylvester Stallone. So that's going to be an interesting one to see. That's it's a Chuck Dixon book.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Levon's Trade is the first book. I actually was talking about it on one of the streams. I didn't like the way he represented the people that were in Maine, or it just I think it was kind of sloppy on part of it, but
so here's a writing question for you, having to do with fantasy. Okay, so there are certain fantasy races that are as old as time. Goblins, elf, dwarves, ogres, orcs, dragons.
Are we going to qualify this by not Tolkien's elves and dwarves and goblins, or are we going to say
dwarf and Tolkien's family can't come sue me?
Right.
They
nor an elf. But the trick is that anyone that's using a high elf, not meaning he's on drugs, they're gonna know that you're using Tolkien's standard And Tolkien's elves were really supposed to be angels. But the elves that were before that were, Norse and Germanic, and they were the size of Keebler elves, but they were known for shooting what's called elf arrows, which is how that world described sudden cramps, stitches in your side. If you had a stitch in the side, it was an elf arrow. So, I mean, just a little bit of interesting trivia there, right?
But then you have but then you have The Hobbit, right? And that's clearly Tolkien.
Yeah, that's Tolkien.
And today I was writing.
Hold on a second. Remember that Tolkien. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you were saying the Hobbits are clearly Tolkien, but Tolkien. So, people talk about Tolkien like he created everything, his languages, and blah blah blah, but he was a researcher for the Oxford English Dictionary, so he would trace the roots of words and phrases and the roots of whatever back to the original. So he developed his Elven language based on a Saxon language, Saxon script. And I guess I just wanted to say that I can't state for an empirical fact that hobbits are Tolkien's, just the name Hobbit.
Well, Oxford English Dictionary says it is.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying, but
okay.
On that one I was pretty sure. And
just qualifying it, you know what I mean? Just got to qualify it.
And I was going through and I was writing and I had this thing going on, and I need a small person. And I had started writing Hobbit, and I went through and I deleted it all, and I did a search and I changed it to Halfling. But then I thought, no, wait. Are we sure Halflings is that a Dungeons and Dragons race?
Well, Dungeons and Dragons took from popular culture and placed it in the game. So chances are they found it someplace else. Maybe it was in Hawk the Slayer or something like that, and they put it in. Okay.
I didn't pay attention to that. But
what's that?
So I don't know. There's a race in Dungeons and Dragons, I think, that are called Griffs, and they're hippopotamus based, and that's cool. But I was like, I don't want to use that term then because it's part of that game. And there's a lot of stuff that I think, I don't know, it's when it comes to fantasy races, part of me was, I didn't want to come up with my own races because it was a whole issue. I just thought, in the end, part of this book is about examining our preconceived notions of groups of people. And it's also a direct attack on the general fantasy notion. I don't like fantasy novels where it's like, here's the dwarf kingdom and here's the elf kingdom and here's, it's like, why don't they all mix? And, I can understand that maybe you have an area that is predominantly elves, but there should be lots of other races there too.
So you're talking about in India where there's monkeys living among them?
Yeah, sort of. So, that's a good thought. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
Well, you're saying races, and I am sick and tired of people using ethnicity for races, because there's only one human race. So if you're talking about elves being different than humans, which we're talking about that they are not the same physiology, right?
Right.
They're just a similar outward appearance.
Although I'm still gonna ignore what science tells us, and I'm going to allow cross species to mix because I need my main character to be a half this. It's kind of his thing.
Oh well, like whatever. That's fantasy too, right? So
yeah,
you can just write that off as it's fantasy. Shit, where was I going? I was going somewhere with this.
About how you don't like when people use race and.
Oh no, yeah, like what you're talking about. I just wanted to clarify because people do that all the time. They use race when they mean ethnicity, and when you're talking about Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, you're actually talking about races. So like a hippopotamus man could be a thing in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Where that's not what we're talking about in this world. We're talking about a different colored skin, or from a different region, or have different beliefs, or whatever. I don't believe that's a different race. I believe that's different people. As to what you're saying, though,
it's species.
I go one step further. Why isn't there different ethnicities in the different races?
I thought about that.
I mean that's something that has to be expansive if you're going to start down that road, because how many different ethnicities is it for humans? So how many different ethnicities could it be for an elf, for a half elf, for a dwarf, or
the way I'm rationalizing some of that is, while there are going to be different skin colorations of within a species, the act of having multiple intelligent species, I would actually think would cut down on what we consider to be racism, because I can see people saying, "Oh, that's a dwarf," versus "That's a goblin," and liking dwarves and not liking goblins, and I think that would be, it's even more obvious than skin color. Therefore, skin color's importance would recede, basically. That's how I'm rationalizing. Although there may still be racism, I don't care.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to tell you to have racists, because I don't, unless you're doing it for a story reason.
Right.
And then you get preachy, right? So it's like, I don't. That's not what I was advising you to do.
Well, I'm just saying that was my because I had thought about that, and I just thought, I think you would have less. And I've thought about this for science fiction too. When there are aliens, how do you worry about someone with a different melanin count than you versus someone who has, 4 eyes and tentacles? Like, I think you would begin to appreciate your own more and be more fearful of the strange.
Yeah, and I think that would be a true racism, actually. Yeah. Because I think that you would have a preconceived notion of what a squid-faced dude is.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to suck face with a squid dude, or you wouldn't want your daughter dating a squid-faced dude. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like it would be used as an allegory. You know what I mean? They would tell everybody it's an allegory for it, which is unfortunate, because whether you intended that or not, that's what it would become.
Yeah, I know. And that's, I'm not interested in telling that story, I guess.
Right. Although, if you were, I mean, you would directly attack it. You wouldn't be, hiding behind something or second-handing it or whatever.
Right. Some of that stuff really, I don't know why, I get weird hang-ups about, like a Stetson hat. if I have a secondary world, Stetson's the brand. Why would they have Stetson hats?
Well, Stetson is a brand, and there's different names for each Stetson.
Right,
Like,
but I'm saying,
for instance, if you watch Justified, he's got a Cabarello or something like that. But if you read the book, he wears an open road, which is much more like Smokey and Smokey and the Bandit. It's kind of a nice round rimmed hat that's actually rolled up around the edges. Anyway, you were saying?
well, some of that stuff, it can become, it's hard for me not to fixate on some of that stuff, and it can stop me from writing because I'm worried about the word itself being anachronistic or something like that. Just, it's one of those things. It's I don't know. It's kind of a fixation I get, and like the Hobbit thing was like I was like, no, I don't want hobbits. I know Tolkien. I mean, I'm just so then halfling. But then I was all weird about halflings. I was like, well, okay. Although Tolkien, I was just doing a little bit of research. Tolkien mentions he sometimes called the hobbits halflings. I'm like, all right. Well, now we have two different. You have it in Tolkien, and you have it in Dungeons and Dragons, and Forgotten Realms, and all those other things. So I should be able to get away with using it because I don't think anyone can claim it as solely theirs. But it's just one of those things that I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know that some of these words I will have to seek out my own, and it's kind of like what was it Schmerps, whatever
Right,
it is.
don't call a rabbit a smear.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but Robert Jordan created Trollocs, and I'm just like, so trolls? You know what I mean?
But they're not actually. They're not. The Trollocs aren't trolls. They have either a bull's head or a ram's head or something like that. They have animal features, animal heads, not just trolls.
Okay.
Just saying that there is a specific difference in the Trollocs, even though I think the troll part of the word Trolloc is to imply their behavioral patterns.
Yeah, well, I'm like, okay, so your trolls have animal heads, and I mean, that's all it is to me. It's just, all right. And so some of that stuff, you see it. Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's not. It's just, I mean, I suppose it's just subjective. So, but it's definitely something I tend to think quite a bit about. Like, I was trying to come up with kind of a Dalai Lama like character, like kind of fulfills that religious aspect, sort of. And so I got to come up with my own name. I can't use Dalai Lama. That's not going to work. But it's definitely based on that. So then I'm looking through different things and trying to come up with a title that will tell people, the reader. That's the kind of stuff that, I can spend half a day on easily and still not be happy. And then 15 chapters later, I'll be like, oh, I should have called it this. And then I had to go back through and change all the names. It's not fun. Anyway, we're at number 2 of the night.
So, well, I've been doing a little
Okay.
looking stuff up real quick here.
Oh, okay.
So I want to show you the difference between it. It's a Marshall is what they call it now, but it was like a Carcaterra or something like that. The difference between that, the hat that he wears in the TV show, which is pretty famous, and the hat that he actually wears in the book or in the original stories. I'm gonna do the share thing. Okay, so this is the one that he wears in the book. It's an open road. You see the brim is kind of curved up.
Yep.
And the one that he wears on the show I don't know why it's not just popping up easily. Is this one. See now, you see the pinched top, which is what they call it when you can put one finger in the middle and one on each side. So you got your index finger in the middle and thumb and middle finger on each side. But it curves up and then back down versus the open road, which just curves up and is white. So I don't know. I don't think the open road comes in anything else but just white. But if you watch Smokey and the Bandit and you see like Smokey and you see like remember the ones, I think it was Smokey and the Bandit 3 where all the it was all the Canadian cops and all the other cops that were all related to that one particular cop, but it was all Jackie Gleason.
Okay.
And he had one of them was a Gaylord, but they were all wearing that same hat. So I mean, it has a different look and it has a different feel. And if you're gonna name hats, if you're gonna talk about hats, I think the main thing to know is what the particular style of hat is. Like if you say a 3-inch brim, which is what I showed you for Justified the show, that's pretty much a 3-inch brim. If you're talking about the open road, then it's a full circle, but it's curved up. It's like those fedoras you see the kids wear that they roll them up all the way around instead of wearing a fedora like it normally is. So, and the pinch front usually comes to a point more in the front. It's pinched so that you can grab it like this.
Uh-huh.
There's different types of tops. You got the 10-gallon, and the 10-gallon is more like a rounded top. So then the preacher's caps or a parson's cap or something like that is a very wide brim with a very low bowl. The plantation cap has a flat top and a flat brim. So, I mean, there's certain ones, but if you think about it, like the preacher's cap, obviously it was, I think it was Parson originally. It was a Parson's cap, but it was like 1700s, early 1800s maybe, where they were still wearing the kind of black, very, trying to think of the wording for what I'm trying to say. It's like they were wearing ties that were like just basically cross like this, and it's like Ichabod Crane type period Parson.
Okay.
So that hat is a direct remnant of that time. The plantation, obviously, it was 1850s, and originally that was a straw hat because they didn't really have a whole lot of selections in hats like that. As far as cowboy hats and Western style hats, they had pretty much like the beaver top hat, the bowler. Shakos. So yeah, I mean, there's different hat styles definitely will evoke a certain image, but I think unless you want a specific look, if it's a cowboy hat, you can just say cowboy hat. If it's a big brim hat, you just say big brim hat. What kind of hat does Solomon Kane wear?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, see, that's the interesting thing. If you watch the movie, it's a hat that doesn't exist. It's a cross between a Jack Turnbull and a Parsons hat. And if you watch the Hugh Jackman version, which they call Van Helsing, but it's still Solomon Kane, that's a whole different hat yet too. But if you read Robert E. Howard, Solomon Kane was a Puritan. So what kind of hat does he wear? A Puritan's hat, right?
Yep.
A whole different look. It's not as dramatic as in the movies, right?
Right.
But so, like, if you want to say tricorn, we automatically have a picture of an era too, right?
Yep. Well,
So-
you should.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess they could have dragged out some, but for the most part, when you say tricorn or bicorn, you're pretty much nailing down Napoleonic to Edwardian, right? So
Right.
That's, I guess, what I was going to say as far as hats go. That the only reason that they're important is that you're kind of nailing down the time period with hats and with the look of a hat. Or like same thing with coats. Like you wouldn't wear a trench coat back in the Edwardian times. You would wear a greatcoat, and the greatcoat had a mantle over its shoulders that you wore as a hat if it was raining. But it wasn't a hat, but it could flop up over your head and become a cowl. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you get into trench coats, that's like World War One, because literally it was made from mud and trenches. So it just gives a definitive picture to me when you're talking about hats. The only reason that it's important that you name a hat, you don't have to name. Like a Stetson is a brand. It definitely is a brand. But if you're talking about a cowboy hat, it doesn't have to necessarily be a Stetson. Just Stetson was the first name in cowboy hats. If you're talking about a
Right.
beaver
But so
beaver
where we
top hat,
no, but see that goes back to the Stetson thing. So we have a brand that people, if you say Stetson hat, people are going to know roughly what kind of hat it is and what kind of time period it is. But you can't say Stetson because there is no Stetson there. So do you come up with a name that's made up?
I say
that
cowboy
people don't
hat.
know? Yeah, see,
Yeah.
that's
I would
like,
say cowboy hat.
They should have names for things, or like guns are good. That's a good one. It's like,
Guns?
yeah, because think about it this way: if I say, I mean, there are well like a Walther, PPK. That's a brand,
Walther's a brand.
right?
PPK is the pistol.
So if you're going to have, characters in a secondary world, and you wanted to, either you have to spend an inordinate amount of time describing the gun or the weapon or whatever it is. Or
So if it's a secondary world, I don't think. Oh boy, it really just depends because you're still trying to invoke a certain time period. You know what I mean? Like even if you're like you were talking about guns with me at one point because you were writing something that was like a similar to 1850s,
Yeah.
1860s, 1890s, somewhere in the latter half of the 1800s, right?
uh-huh.
So you don't have to say it was a peacekeeper, you know? You could say it was a revolver. But
Yes, I know
the
you
diff-
can. I'm saying, but if you these names that we rely upon and people will recognize, those people should have names that they recognize, and it's a trick to introduce something like that for verisimilitude into your writing, because
Well,
either you chose a generic revolver.
yeah, but see, I was gonna go a step further than that. Like, if you have a ball and cap revolver, or just a percussion cap revolver, or a flint revolver, you see, they all invoke different technologies, so different time periods of that technology. So if you want to get semi-specific, you could be saying a powderless or a smokeless gun, which it's different than black powder because it's less smoke, and that invokes a certain time period. Some of it don't matter unless you're a gun enthusiast, but some of it does. Like if I say a peacekeeper, most people can already imagine it's the Lone Ranger's gun, because that's really the most popular gun before the 1911, and that's a Colt Army. And then there was the Colt Navy, which is the one that you would see in Outlaw Josie Wales. The difference is that in the Outlaw Josie Wales, that's a percussion cap and ball, so you have to actually pack each barrel. You don't have a bullet, you don't have a shell. You have to pack each barrel, and then you have to mount a percussion cap on a nipple to fire it, versus just sliding a bullet in the chamber and rotating the chamber for the next one. Even though the original Colt Peacekeeper didn't have, you couldn't roll the chamber out and load it. You had to roll it and load it one by one. It still was a lot quicker than trying to pack a bullet in the chamber, like make your bullet yourself as you're packing it in the chamber. See, that's what I'm saying is that, and the difference in those two guns, or you would have run into them in the same time period, because they were made within like 10 years of each other, and people were still using them. I mean, they used the Colt Navy for a long time, while Bill used a Colt Navy. My brain's short-circuiting a little, but the aces and eights, the guy got shot in the back of the head. He used the Colt Navy, and the same thing. You know, you're packing each shot in the barrel. Like the underside of the barrel, when you're using that Colt Navy, you pack and then you pull this down, and it's a lever that pushes in to pack it tight. Whereas the underside of the Peacekeeper, you pull it out so that you can rotate and empty the chambers. Yeah, I'm sure that's much more than you wanted to know, but I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to get a little bit more specific without getting crazy and describing the gun, it's if they had percussion caps, then any gun enthusiast knows that it's a certain period, certain time that they're packing their own bullets inside the chamber, and anyone else just will maybe have an idea of the shape of the gun. But a peacekeeper is an automatic shape. You automatically know that. When you say scatter gun, it's usually a sawed-off shotgun, right? Does it matter if it's over or under or side by side? No, it doesn't. But if you want to get specific, over or under, side by side. And that tells you where the barrels are located, right? A duck's foot is a gun with 4 barrels that go like this. So you fire one shot and it fires 4 different directions because it's 4 different barrels packed. And that's, 50 years before the Colt Navy, or maybe even more. That's a boot gun that they would hide in when they were literally talking about bootlegging liquor, shoving liquor bottles down the boot leg.
Said you originate in Portland, Maine.
Amanda's telling us it's Portland, Maine's claim to fame that they originated the bootlegging liquor. And I don't know if that's strictly true, but it's a claim. It's kind of like that whole
Earmuffs in the microwave were invented in Maine too.
well, yeah, I'm not talking about earmuffs in the microwave. Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan, they lay claim to him in Maine, they lay claim to him in Oregon. So
You can't have that.
So, yeah, because she's not giving the dog ice cream. Her stepdog. I don't know how much detail to put in this.
You should give your cat some ice cream.
I think it looks pretty good.
I don't have a cat.
She should give her cat some ice cream.
Well, that's Eli's cat, and I'm sure it wouldn't take it.
Well, you should try it if you've never seen it, because it's kind of funny. Because cats get brain freeze, and it's funny.
Yeah, I think all animals get brain freeze.
I don't know if they do. I've never seen a dog get it. I don't have.
Oh, I've seen a dog get it.
Okay, but God, when cats get it, they just... I find it rather humorous. Or have you ever taken a fruit roll up and scoop ice cream into it like it's kind of like a wonton wrapper?
Nope.
It'll almost instantly freeze the fruit roll up, and it becomes like crunchy and stuff. It's fun things that we do with ice cream around here.
I would never mix fruit roll up and ice cream.
Oh,
I would never make a taquito out of ice cream.
No, man, like get like a cherry or a strawberry and then put some chocolate ice cream in it. Like that's like, strawberries and chocolate, or chocolate covered strawberry. You know, I mean, that's...
You do realize I'm a diabetic, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, get you some sugar free so you can crap yourself all night. Then
Yeah, well, sugar free is a misnomer.
that's true.
They may not add. A lot of times it's not even sugar free. It's no sugar added, which means it's the amount of sugar that's naturally there, and they don't add any. But a lot of sugar free, quote unquote, actually is stuff that's sugar free until your body turns it to sugar. So I'm guess a little bit more cautious on that level too.
I sincerely hope that's the dog.
Yep. Can you hear the dog drinking? Well, I'm glad he's drinking his water and not the cat's water, because he has a habit of drinking the cat's water. I think the cat last night went over by his bowl and spit in his bowl.
I don't know.
Because he was sitting there looking at me, and then he was looking at the dog's bowl, and then he looked at me, and then he put his face in the dog's bowl. And then he'd come back up and look at me like, is it cool?
The cat's food is up higher because the dog doesn't get into it. And the dog's food's on the floor, and then there's the dog's water, and then each cat has its own bowl of water. They're all basically in one area. And the other day I was trying to, all right, just trying to give them water. And the cats had food, they shouldn't have water, so I got the water, and I was going to give the dog food, and I came back out to put it in her bowl. The stupid baby cat was standing in the bowl that should be for dog food, drinking out of the dog's water, while the other two bowls are just completely abandoned. I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you stand where she eats? It's a power play.
Right. That's how I was feeling about the dog drinking the cat's water too. Is like, this is a bullying maneuver. He has no reason to fucking lap up the cat's water because he got his own water.
Yeah.
So if he has his own water, he doesn't need to be drinking the cat's up.
Sit out.
Yeah, I know. I know. This is not moving as fast, but I'm getting a clearer vision of where we are. We have a setting here. Yes, a setting.
Yeah.
Well, your hands also stopped moving on the page for a while.
Well, it doesn't matter because, like, if the brain's not working, the hand is not going to do anything. Not going to do anything valuable at all.
I just figured,
and
all right.
I stopped mainly because I'm like, I know this is going to be shadowed in, and this is, going to be in the distance, but I want to put my central figures right through here. So I don't know if I want to put her like right here. And this is an upshot, and there's a picture that I've got for reference that I really like that is an upshot of a couple, and they're getting ready to kiss. But this isn't the panel that I would use it for. This is the panel, right? So I get this straight Dutch angle and everything works out perfectly, and I'm like, yeah, but except for I don't have references for the main characters yet. But because it's a layout, I don't have to have the perfect main character yet. I don't know if I like his headgear on there either. He does, like, I accomplished, like I was saying, is he a spoiled punk or what? And I accomplished the douchebag look. But now I'm looking at it and thinking, should we generate some sympathy for him too? Because, like, do we look at him and go, man, that's a dickhead. I hope he gets fucked up, Yeah, it's something to consider, right?
Yeah.
What do we want to do with him? Is he a likable cuss? We know he's not doing his job. We know he's slacking on his job. And that's why I asked if he was.
That's not 100% accurate.
Well, if he's supposed to be delivering a message, he's a courier. He knows he's got valuable shit in him, even if he thinks nobody can tell he is.
Right.
But he's just taking his time partying and following a girl. You know what I mean? So he's not delivering what he should be. If this was like Quicksilver or something, he wouldn't be doing his bike deliveries because he's fucking around. Anyway, so do we want to generate some sympathy for him? Because the reason that I ask if we want to generate some sympathy for him is because he's going to be the subject of an investigation, right? They're going to be looking. They're going to be looking for him, and like it. So it could work either way. So like if we don't want to generate some sympathy for him, if we want to make him really a complete douche, then our investigator is going to pick up on the fact that he's a complete douche as he's going.
Yeah.
But do we want our investigator to care about him, or do we want our investigator to be looking at it analytically? So yeah, I mean, is he sympathizing with the father? And if so, why? Does he have his own kid? Or is he just cold investigating it? All these questions. I asked these questions.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day.
And I'm not trying to start a fight with these questions, by the way. When I asked you about like nobody's resisting or nobody's coming up with an alternate power, I'm not saying like everybody's going to, but like I'm asking questions that pop up in my brain. I'm thinking, nobody's doing this? Not at all. So it's like not to start fights. It's not what I'm doing. It's more to kind of world build, I guess, enough with you to know what I'm going to be drawing,
No, I was thinking about your questions earlier, and I came to the conclusion that they don't always need to be answered.
Well, they may not need to be answered for the general public, but you and I.
Well, no. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, if I know the scope of the story, like, again, I have a pretty good grasp of this totality of this story, and if I don't think it's going to factor into anything that's going on, I may have an answer, but it may not be important, and it certainly isn't important enough to argue over if I think everything works.
Yeah,
but
and
when you ask these questions, like when I was doing, all the stuff you're going to read tomorrow over the novel, it's kind of based off of questions you asked. And I was like, you know what? It's not that you don't necessarily need an answer. It's that we can proceed without an answer being done. And we may end up coming back to it. And it's not it's so, like the questions you were asking about the novel, I was like, you know what? Some of that's kind of interesting, and I can make an interesting aspect of it. So I went back. I shouldn't necessarily let that stop the progress of the story.
Right.
So that's all I'm saying.
Like some of the questions I asked, I'm talking about this and why it's important for this is for me to know whether or not what I'm drawing is incongruous with
Well,
the story you're telling. So, like, I mean, the things in the background, the things that you're not gonna focus on,
Yeah.
like, I know you're not gonna focus on them, but I'm gonna focus on them because that makes the setting real. That makes and that makes for verisimilitude. And if they don't have, like you're saying, candlelight powers, street lamps, and then robots. So that's
Oh, hey there. You just sound terrible. Like, oh. Say something. Nope, that's still terrible. Yeah, like just nothing but static. Can't listen to that. Well, you're better. Oh, that's still terrible, man.
This is the reason I stopped using those microphones, because every time I use it, ends up having problems like this. I unplug this shit. Wrong one.
Okay, that sounded fun. Ooh, I was first. Switch that back. There we go.
Yeah, so what I did is unplug the microphone.
Oh,
That's such weird. Like this is using my laptop microphone.
oh,
And in the last time we went through this, everybody was asking why I was using the built-in microphone versus using my good microphone. That's why, because every single time I use it, it does something. Static, whistling, I can't hear, you talking, or I can't hear the music or whatever. Something screws up. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's in the plug or what. I can't imagine it is, because it's I haven't used it but a handful of times, and I haven't done anything to mess up the wiring. So this is why, for future reference, I seldom use that mic, because I can seldom get away with using it without it having some side effect.
see, that's weird too, though, because like,
And it's a nice mic, and it's one of the more expensive mics too. So,
and it was doing fine.
Yeah, all of a sudden it wasn't.
Yeah,
That's the way it works, and there's no rhyme or reason. I didn't move the mic. I didn't turn the mic up or down until after you said it was doing some shit. Then I turned it down to see if it was like a feedback thing, because I had it up. But yeah, like I had not moved the mic or anything. I moved the mic one time because I accidentally bumped it and turned it off.
see, that was weird too, because I could hear the pencil going across the page on it, but whenever you talked, it was straight up static.
And the mic was probably about this far from my mouth.
Yeah, I don't know.
And,
Man.
and I wasn't yelling or anything. I'm talking regular volume right now. If I get the slightest bit loud, then my wife lets me know.
Well, see, that's the other thing, though. Like,
She can be upstairs and with the door closed, and she'll let me know if it's too loud.
there are times when, like, the microphone I think you're on now, you get like, kind of like a reverb robot voice going on.
Yeah, that's that roboting.
But now it's not doing it. I mean, it's just, I have no idea.
Yeah, well, it's not doing it because I unplugged that mic, so I'm not using that mic. The mic I'm using now is my laptop mic. It's directly from my laptop.
What'd you use last time?
The one that I was just using?
No, the one you used last show.
It was this one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That one, you sometimes get like this.
No,
Kinda
the one that I'm using right now is the one that I used during the last show.
Yeah, I know. And if you look, Oversteer was mentioning it.
The laptop mic is the one I was using the last show.
Yep.
The one that I was using the first part of this show was my HyperX.
Right? That's what I was saying. Is that on the last show, Oversteer mentioned how you kind of had a reverby robot voice. Which,
yeah, and I think that has to do with the connection. I'm thinking because we're running 480p, or 4 whatever hell it is, because I don't have the next level up StreamYard, which is 1080p, which would be great resolution on this, and it would probably have a change in the mics too. I'm sure that when we figure out the OBS, then it will be, because we didn't have that problem when we were talking over OBS. So I'm fairly confident that if we get on the OBS and off of StreamYard, then we'll have a lot less concern with that.
well, we need to set aside a time to run through some of that. Like, just even if it's a stupid stream, like, we don't have to announce it. Just we need to set up a time where
we can do a practice stream. We can set it up and not actually broadcast, where we can broadcast and not to the public.
Yeah. But we're gonna have to set up a time to practice some of that because I don't. In theory, I know how to do it. And again, I was setting stuff up. I got us both on there, and yeah. There are some things I think I have to have from you, which we'll have to talk about it off. We can't talk about it here right now.
Right, either that or I'm gonna have to learn the OBS.
Well, I don't think that's actually all that hard, but it might
Well,
be better.
depends on what you're doing with it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't get that far. I have OBS downloaded on my laptop. I just haven't.
You also have to make sure it's like, because I just downloaded it, and so that's the newest version. So the plugins and stuff might be slightly different. You have to make sure it's the most up-to-date version. Also, I just saw this StreamYard was recently purchased. So I was watching a video. In fact, actually, because I'm going to mention him again, I'm going to look up the Michael Ferrer Jr. That's the guy's name. Anyway, he has a channel talks a lot about streaming, including OBS and plugins and whatnot. So
Yeah, there's a lot of OBS tutorials.
oh yeah, there are. I'm just saying that's the one I was looking at, so that's not I'm saying the guy's name. But he was talking about how StreamYard was recently purchased, which the last time they were purchased, they basically didn't change anything. So it's not a big issue. But he's like, chances are, in about 6 months, they're going to raise the prices. No, he didn't know that for a fact or anything. It's all conjecture. But he's like, I wouldn't be surprised if the price goes up. And I thought, all the more reason to be going to OBS. So
Right, because OBS is free.
right. Oh,
Ooh.
you're hurting yourself tonight.
Yeah, twisted and hurt my hip. How do you know you're old? You just turn in the chair and hurt your hip.
Yeah.
You roll over and break something.
Well, my son is young and he broke his thumb standing up. So
Something tells me there's a little bit more to it than that.
no, that really is it. He was sitting on the ground, had his hands behind him and pushed up, and he did it in a way it snapped his thumb.
Yeah, so it wasn't just standing up, it was pushing up with his hand.
Okay, but I'm saying I've never broken a finger or a thumb, pushing off the ground so I can stand up. That's all I'm saying.
I broke my wrist. My cousin pushed me over a cinder block and I fell and tried to catch myself and
Yeah.
didn't get my hand flat and snapped my wrist. You're all right. It scared the cat. No, I guess the cat's scared of everything anyway. Yeah, it doesn't take the dog to scare him. The cat was scared of a thunderstorm. The cat was scared of a fly once. Most cats attack flies and mosquitoes and spiders and all that. This one looks at the spider, looks at you like, get that spider, and then runs the fuck away.
You were good, right? One to five guy, I think. 1 to 5 guy. One thing.
I've started to notice. What?
Can you hear him?
A little bit.
You don't have to see yourself for him to hear you.
No.
As long as you can see him. Tell him again.
You, May 17, what's that? May 17.
May 17th.
Team 1. Team 1.
He turned 21. And where did you go?
5 guy. Supper.
He went to go with Five Guys for supper last night.
Awesome.
And had a cheeseburger ice cream cake. Oh, you had ice cream and cake, not an ice cream cake. We took him to Walmart and he takes off with the shopping cart. Next time I see him, about 10 minutes later, he's got a big old chocolate cake, chocolate icing, and on top of the plastic on the cake, he's got a chocolate ice cream tub bouncing onto the plastic. And he's doing about 35.
Well, you to be excited for those things.
Yeah, like, hey, we like him being excited about stuff, so don't get me wrong. I'm not at all opposed to him. But it was funny that he bought his own birthday cake. He went and picked out what he wanted for his birthday cake, and nobody made him a birthday cake or asked him what he wanted for a birthday cake. He had it all, and by the time he was headed towards the checkout, it was literally he had the ice cream stacked on top of the cake, and there's a plastic cover on the cake, and it's bouncing on the plastic as he's going, 35 miles an hour on his feet, zooming through the store. And the girls at the checkout had got him a present. They got him a card.
So yeah, man. Yeah, okay.
And what?
Yeah, okay. Hold back. We're done.
I got him a piece of carrot cake because we told her not to get him a whole cake, so got him a piece of carrot cake like that big.
Hold back. We're gonna say.
Yeah, and you ate the whole thing today. You went from not having, can't have much for snacks to eating every single shitty thing that he that big ass cake. There's like 2 pieces left, maybe. He was just at it with a fork, and he dropped the fork. That's what what was tinging.
Ah.
He's like, "Sorry, I dropped the fork." I'm like, "It's your cake, whatever, man."
I'm thinking today.
And he got to ride in the dump truck today.
And tomorrow.
In the cab or in the back?
In the cab.
Yeah.
Well, it was a short ride. He was supposed to go on a run because his best friend owns a construction company, so he lets him ride with him in the dump truck and dump the dump truck and stuff like that.
Himself, yeah, himself.
And we found him gassing up, and he just basically drove him from the gas station back to his shop, which was not that far, but he got a chance to ride in the dump truck for a little bit. He's hoping that he can go there again tomorrow because it was a short ride today and it wasn't very sunny. The dog, yeah. Yes. The dog went into PetSmart. He's got a whole bunch of stories for you, apparently. It's the wife's stepdog, right?
Thank God, it's a hospital state weed.
So, yeah.
That's it.
A month, yeah.
3 months.
Stephanie's in the hospital for a month, yes.
So, really sad.
She's in recovery for a month. So we're just explaining it to him like he was in the hospital for a month. She's in the hospital.
Yeah.
And we're taking care of her dog, which really is Amanda retraining her dog. It's really weird, like, I don't know. When you start getting into other people's pets and other people's, kids and lifestyles or whatever, and you have to deal with your lifestyle and pet. You're doing what you're doing. Last time we streamed, I got up in my spot and fell asleep. Put my covers on, slept on my pillow. I had to wake him up and rain was over. I definitely not getting more than one layout done today, but I got a little bit of the city alleys, whatever, done.
Yeah.
There's room for conversation.
Pull it down.
Oh yeah. Working on it.
Okay. Well, you were.
Yeah. There's room for word bubbles or caption.
Okay.
I've got to be careful on this because we don't want it to run into this line because that's called.
I don't remember.
A tangent.
Ah.
It's called a tangent. Anytime that you can read a line as something other than what it is,
yeah.
Like if a background line runs into maybe Spider-Man's web or something, if you can get confused, if the color is something like a rip in jeans, the same color because they can't determine whether it's debris that's falling or a hole in jeans, then it's a tangent. So generally, it's like we want to avoid landing the edge lines on an edge line. We want to go past or break that edge line so that doesn't happen. That's a lesson for anyone out there.
See, we learned something.
I saw a guy that has painted a couple of book covers. Matter of fact, one of them was a Conan book cover that I recognized, and he was revealing a sketch for a painting he was going to do. And Joe Jusko, who is a famous comic artist, painter, he's now doing actually John Carter of Mars covers for the Robert E. Howard estate, told him, you've got a couple of tangents and you want to look out for that. And the guy just totally was like, I know what I'm doing. I've done covers before and blah, 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 which that's not good etiquette anyway, but Joe Jusko is a hell of a good guy.
Yeah.
And if he took the time out of his own painting schedule to not only look at your work, but to say, hey, somebody told me this one time and I'm sharing it with you.
Right.
You don't treat him like he's an asshole for doing it. You say thank you. Whether or not you're gonna listen to him, you at the very least thank him for what he did, because that's a load of crap. Joe Jusko is one of the nicest guys that I've talked to in art or comics, and a lot of artists, I guess I should say right up, a lot of artists that I've met are really good guys. They are really. Den Bavay, Michael Whelan. These guys, they don't have to take the time to tell you. Steve Ferris, they don't have to take the time out to tell you what they've learned or how they do it, but they do, So.
Oh, that's a terrible comment. Grammar on it's terrible.
Can you guess where the story is going, huh?
Yeah, well, can you, what's it called?
Is there any confusing or that you'd
like to see? Is there anything confusing or that you'd like to see? Which should have a question mark. I get it.
There's a word missing. Is there anything confusing
or that you'd like to see?
Or missing that you'd like to see?
Just or that you'd like to see.
To me, there's a word missing. It's confusing.
Well, it's not.
Okay, whatever. Not my comment. Even though it's accredited to me.
It's not. I mean, the question mark is missing because it's a count splice. It's not as parallel.
Is there anything confusing? Is not a problem. It's the or that you'd like to see. I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Would you say, is there anything that you'd like to see?
Yeah, that would be a different.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you'd like to see? That you'd like to see is modifying anything.
Okay.
It's confusing. Okay. The problem is that you have one thing that's just a singular adjective versus a whole phrase. Actually, a whole clause.
I guess I think in conjunction with the former question, it's a little bit confusing for me.
Well, it's not parallel. That's
because like
adding to why it doesn't sound very good.
Can you guess where the story is going is one thing. If there's anything confusing about where the story is going, that is pretty much asking whether or not they're able to read the art and tell where the story is going art-wise. But I suppose, you can, between the two last pages and then this page, because this is him.
Hey, slide everything a little bit more to the right. Or move one of them.
That I'm limited on space because of where the camera mount is, the arm. Okay. The camera arm is actually parallel with this. And you'd think, that would be the middle, but it's not. So
I'm just trying to get everything in frame.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible, but I'm saying, this page, we've got two characters interacting. They're interacting here, so she's walking past him, he's following her. Doesn't tell you where the story is going, but it tells you what's happening. They appear in the first panel on the opposite side. They pass each other here. This is what happens when they pass each other. They're past each other. He follows her, right?
Yeah.
So there's two more panels if you really want to guess what's going on. I think I've actually said what's going on if anyone was paying attention.
Well, that's just in the next two panels now. Dude.
What's that?
Although we've talked about the story too, but that's okay. You can cheat.
Another valid question too is, does it read well? Can you see what's going on? Does it feel like it's reading as well as it could be? Comic book wise, when you have larger spaces filled here, see, like if on 11 by 17, this had to be like this big, so probably gonna shrink some. But
I think I would trim some of his
I'm still
jaw.
trying to figure out what's that.
I would trim some of his jaw.
Well, his jaw comes directly from the reference you gave me.
Well, okay.
And I know it actually looks like it's a shorter jaw than it should be, but that's actually right in line with the reference that you gave me.
I think we're talking about a different reference.
Nope. You only
Yeah.
gave me one.
Yeah, but I said it was the meme, and it's not the meme. I think I know what meme you're thinking of, and it's not the meme I was thinking of. And it's okay. But then you were talking about the meme because you said there's only one girl. I was like, yeah, that was the meme I was talking about.
No, there's two girls in that meme. There's the one
Right.
that he's walking hand in hand with.
But
Right.
really, you just
That's that dude's fucking chin, dude.
really.
Yeah. I can show you
Listen.
one if you want later on. His chin's pretty steep.
I will believe you. I mean, I can look it up myself, but okay.
Yeah, that's what I use for reference. I just kind of
I was just saying the
this
general
part of
clothes.
the face a little bit. This part of the face to fit the needs of the picture versus the reference. And this is a little bit more close to the reference, but you can't see the sharpness of his chin going back because her head's interrupted. And that was intentional.
What? So we're gonna call it?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I don't think I'm gonna get these done tonight because I've got time. I don't know. I just gotta get a clearer head. When we started, I knew I wanted to do this. I got that done. I'm pretty happy with that. That's actually probably further than I needed to go as far as a layout. The layouts are usually generally really rough, like this stuff rough, so that you can just go from there. But I wanted to follow the energy a little bit so that I can, work with it later on. All of these are not going to be the same. They are just roughs for positioning and roughs for what I want to achieve with the look. His face is not going to look like that because, like I said, that face definitely achieves the...
It's a punchable face.
He's an asshole face, right?
Yeah.
So...
Very
We
punchable.
probably got somebody watching that looks exactly like that, and they're like, "You motherfucker!"
We lose a viewer, a subscriber.
But yeah, so that was what my thinking was. My thinking was lay that out, and I know exactly what I want to do here. I actually wanted to do more of an upshot, and I'm going to do more of an upshot here. But I don't think I'm going to follow your instructions with her leg around him.
Okay.
Because the reference that I've got that I like is a more of an extreme upshot, and if her legs are around him, it would really kind of throw off the perspective.
Hey, that's fine.
So I want to
That is
show
not
them.
important. That's
I'm
not
going to show
particularly
them from. I'm going to show them from halfway up their body, but this one here, that I think there's going to be 2 pictures of them getting close enough to kiss. And I also think that what I want to do for the splash page we were talking about,
Yeah.
is a double page spread.
Okay.
So, as long as we're on, I got in the mail today Shane Davis's Inglorious Rex with the Dale Keown cover. Now, so I thought I ordered the issue 1 reissue and this one because this is the second issue. But I got 2 of the second issues. But both of them are signed. So, if you're interested, maybe I'll tell you one. I'm gonna do a little preview here of some of the inside art. Now, this guy, Shane Davis, as you know, he can be taken very wrong, I think. Like, he's got an alternate kind of show persona that he's doing the Tiger King type of an imitation to be stupid, right? But that's what he does on YouTube, and it's not what he does in the comic. He's professional in the comic, and you can see it. So, but as far as people that draw buildings, man, you can draw some freaking buildings. Got great perspective. How much you can see, I don't want the glare to interrupt, but also. So basically, Inglorious Rex, monster martial arts. It's basically MMA. But these aren't really just monsters, they're DNA encoded avatars. And there are people that use those avatars to fight in the ring. But they're in a city that's in a walled city because these things are outside and they too dangerous to live outside the city. So these are really kind of kaiju size.
Okay.
And they're doing MMA, but in the end it's so that they can fight off these monsters. You get an idea because this is the guy that's running this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, like these are the 2 people that are running those. And that's the cover of these 2 fighting. But yeah, he's city, like he really does a great job of the background and cities and stuff. And see if gotta skip ahead some so that they don't reveal everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, but the background cities.
Pull it down. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, this is down. This is towards me.
Okay, towards you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying.
Bring it in.
That's where the misunderstanding is. There was one scene that I was going to show you in the city, but I can't find it right now. I don't want to spoil everything for everybody because the art is really good, and I mean, like the storytelling is what I'm talking about art-wise, and like it doesn't have to be Frazetta quality or whatever. What it has to do is be able to tell the story, and there's certain scenes that just that one scene tells us a great chunk of the story, you know. I keep missing it. I missed it 3 times now. Is there a page sticking there? Oh, shouldn't be. Maybe it's maybe earlier. Yeah, there we go. This page. On this. Because he is on a building. There's busted out windows. You know what I mean? There's a building over here with a chopper pad, people on it, and you know, as you get further away, it loses some. But this stuff right here, it's pretty badass. There's a clear on it. There you go. So yeah, really good. I have yet to read it because I just got it today. But I wanted to show it off a little bit and give Shane Davis a nod because it's an excellent looking comic book. It's a Dale Keown cover, and you know, Dale Keown's just awesome, period. Dale Keown of Hulk and Pit fame. Yeah. And there's some perks. They give me a magnet, some stickers, and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, I'm in hopes that we're going to have something production quality like that in the end. But I think it took him over a year from when I supported his campaign.
Yeah.
But I think that we're not going to start a campaign until we've got something going. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have no idea where we're going to have letterers and where we're going to have colorists, and what's going to become of it for inks and stuff yet. So, like, part of me even wants to paint it. And I think it would be different if I painted it, but then I still don't know. I still don't really know how to go about, you know, doing the production part of it. So we're going to end a little bit early, not all that much, half hour. Wow, we've been going 3 hours, but it doesn't seem like it's as late as it normally is. It's 11:30 on Saturday night. All right. So everyone that watched, thanks for watching. Everyone that liked or subscribed or followed, thanks for liking or subscribing or following. Tell us what you think. Like Brett typed under my name. Tell us if you think that there should be more of something or less of another thing, or if you're confused, if you can read it well, if you like what you're seeing, etc. If you're getting information that keeps you entertained. That said, good night. God bless. Much love.
Peace.